2. And with that, we are ready with our first run. Good luck to GrizzzzBear on Prince of Persia, Warrior Within. Let's go!
Any percent Zipless. Before we start, there are CGI cutscenes in this game which should come up as soon as we start the game. We've actually gone in to remove the video files of that as a couple of the game over screens are quite inconsistent in version differences. So rather than retime every single run, we've just renamed or deleted the videos folder, which just makes it a lot easier for timing purposes. But if we're all ready to go, we can start the timer in 3, 2, 1, go. Hoi! Noot noot! So straight away you'll notice that the CGI cutscenes are gone because, like I said before, we've deleted them just to make it timing easier. The boat section doesn't really have any interesting glitches or anything like that to show, other than just like general movement and combat. You'll notice that I'm actually cutting half my combos short by putting in a block input, which just ends the combo whenever you put that in, which makes running it a little bit faster. I'm looking for a specific weapon that fell on the ground there. I'm looking for either an axe or a gold and black sword. The point of that is for when we come to the boss of this boat, Shadi, both the axe and that sword will do the most damage to her, so that we can script the fight as much as possible and make it as quick as possible as well. While we're here, I can talk a little bit about side rolling. Side rolling is actually the fastest type of movement in the game itself. So you'll see me side rolling absolutely everywhere. The main point of that is because it avoids enemy lock-ons as well, as this game does have a problem with locking on their enemies, and because you're locked on their enemies, you move a lot slower than normal. So to avoid that, we side roll past all enemy hordes that we can, and it is actually the fastest movement in the game as well. So you see me doing a little bit of weird combos here, just to get straight into side rolls, roll around all the enemies, and then we're straight to the boss fight. So this boss fight is pretty scripted. We're going to start off with a secondary counter attack, which does, like I say, the most amount of damage with the axe that we've picked up earlier. Secondary counter whenever we can. Jump over, go into the sword clash section, mash all the way through to win that, and then one final secondary counter to win the fight. Pretty easy fight, pretty scripted, not really much else you can do on that. The hardest part of the boating section really is getting used to the side rolling through the main corridors, as the enemy lock-ons are a bit of a pain in this game, and can make this game quite unfun. But this is where the glitches start to happen. So we've appeared on the beach, and since we're now on the beach, we can do a little bit more. We still haven't got any sand powers yet, which is where we'll start using some of the major glitches. But we are going to set up for a glitch that we can activate on the beach itself, called ledge storage. So what ledge storage basically is, I'll just explain that before I actually get it, is we climb over a ledge and get that action interrupted by an enemy attacking us. So we're going to get our good old friend, the crew over here, if he decides to get out from underneath the bridge. We're going to get him to interrupt our climbing animation. And I've died. That can happen. Bird memes are a thing, but thankfully we just respawn on the boat, on the beach. So I'll try it once more, just to show it off, really, because it is a really cool glitch. It saves a couple of minutes overall. It lets us skip a cutscene, lets us skip getting the second sword of the game, which is the spider sword. So that's basically all I'm trying to do here, is just set up for that. So you see that my animation got interrupted there as I try to climb over the fence. That means that we've got ledge storage now activated. Now what ledge storage actually is that once we've climbed over that and had that animation interrupted, that ledge's location gets stored somewhere in the game's memory. So the next time we climb over a ledge, the game is going to try and teleport us back to that original ledge. And with the benefit of collision, we can actually teleport to later part of the game. Well, not necessarily that much later, but it lets us skip over a cutscene and hit all the load triggers necessary to continue on through the game. So the rest of this up here is just a little bit of casual movement up into here. So if Polster has anything to say, you can take it away while I just casually move through this next area.
Well, we do have a few things we can talk about. For example, this $49 donation from Congruence saying, $69, Pog! Hyped to be part of this event for the second time. We also have a $5 donation from 7bold7 saying, Hey Grizz, why aren't you bald? Good luck on your run and don't forget to dodge the tornadoes at the end. And because it's not UKSG without tech difficulties, we are aware that there is no game audio on the stream, so we might have to pause the run for a quick minute.
Shouldn't be any
And
sound
if we can
issues.
sort that out, that'll be great. Thank you for your understanding, everyone.
On the computer.
We're trying our best,
Yeah,
but it's not a
that's
marathon without tech difficulties.
No, everything's turned on.
Can you just go into the
Yeah.
menu there?
Yeah, everything's.
Second HD audio output.
Where's that?
It's coming out. Can you go right click into the proper settings? Playback devices.
So to continue off from where I was before, because we have ledge storage now, we can't actually climb over any ledges, otherwise the glitch will activate. So I had to do it. Is that because I've all tabbed out? I don't know. But what should have happened there is where we should have activated the cuts, teleported there. So I don't know why we've lost ledge storage, but rip ledge storage. So rip a couple of minutes because we're going to have to watch this cutscene and actually get the second sword. So I'm sorry. I don't know why ledge storage wasn't activated there. I don't know why it didn't activate. It can happen, I guess. There is a way to climb over an invisible ledge, and when that happens, when you climb over the invisible ledge, you don't actually get ledge storage because you're not actually climbing over a physical ledge. So that could have happened, I guess. It shouldn't have, but I don't know. This game is quite inconsistent with that skip. I practiced this a little bit before the run as well, and I hit it both times, so I'm quite disappointed that it hasn't actually worked, but oh well, marathon luck, what are you going to do? So, unfortunately we've had to watch that cutscene, gain the second sword, so we're going to have to walk through this area casually, as normally we would be all the way through here, and we would actually turn up right here for once the lead storage was activated, so we did lose a little bit of time there, but not that much. So this is the Crowman. He gets his own edgy cutscene for the first time you see him. I personally find this boss too, well, not mini boss, too terrifying in the fight, so we're just going to sidewall past him. And we find him so terrifying that we're just going to skip him completely. And we will never see Crowman again. So again, a lot of this is just casual movement until we actually get the time powers, which will come up at the first portal, like the first sand portal, so that we can go back into the past. But there's a little bit of optimization. You saw me wall run up the side of a door frame, and then jump off that up to the ledge, which it saves a couple of seconds overall. But a lot of this early game section is just optimized movement. And I forgot to turn off slow motion. Of course I did. That shouldn't happen too much, but it only really happen when you do kills against enemies. But hopefully we shouldn't have to kill any enemies in this from the rest of this game onwards. The only one that we should have to kill is the final boss, hopefully. But we shouldn't have any slow-mo cutscenes. I thought I turned those off. But again, we're coming up to here. coming up to the first portal, again using our good old friend the side roll to navigate the corridors quickly. And again, there's no CGI cutscene of transporting into the past because we've deleted the video folders. But now we actually can rewind time and start messing with the game now. So again, side rolling all the way so that we can get to this point the faster. And this is when I'm going to start breaking the game with something called the pause glitch. So you're going to see me pause the game, unpause it, and then mash the pause button again, which causes this menu to come up abruptly at set intervals. And what we can do with that is we can use the rewind feature of the game to teleport. Certain actions cause teleport, such as wall running and rolling, which I'm going to do here now, and hopefully skip a cutscene that's in here as well. Just set this up. I don't think that's going to work, and it did. Happy days. Make sure I just hit the load trigger that's on that doorway. And then the rest of this is just another casual point here, which we can just run around. There is something I can explain here actually as well called the safety fall. You saw me do it to set up the roll teleport just there. But what that lets us do is it lets us fall from a little bit higher of a height so that we don't actually die from fall damage. So what I'm doing here now is I'm setting up for a very, very tight wall run that was found by the boys, Tokaluni1 and Epic Dude Guy, which lets us skip a full 2 hours of the game by running into a section where we are supposed to be at the very end of the game, so to say. So I'm just going to take a quick checkpoint here, as the rest of this point is not loaded, so we're going to have to take the checkpoint, die, and that will reload the area and all the and the rest of the trap corridor here.
Well, one thing I could talk about is the current tech issue we're having. Currently, for some reason, we can't seem to get the game audio going, but we have opted at this point because soon enough, you're going to get an audio glitch, which is going to kill all the game audio anyway.
Oh, yeah, that'll happen. Yeah.
We're just going to move forward as is, as if nothing happened. We apologize for the inconvenience. In the meantime, I'd like to tell you a little bit about our charity. We're raising money to support Young Minds, a charity leading the fight for a future where all young minds are supported and empowered, whatever the challenges. Your donations help them to make sure young people get the best possible mental health support and have the resilience to overcome life's difficulties. On behalf of everyone here, thank you all for donating.
So the reason why I walked into that doorway here and took a death is because even though that the foundry, the next part of the game, is loaded, we need to hit something called a story counter, which is a counter which records where you are in the story. And the way that the game tracks is by hitting these story counters. It determines what cutscenes to play when and how. But because we need to hit the certain story counter, we have to take a couple of deaths here so that the game actually remembers that we should actually be the Maggot Man at this point in the game. So we've unlocked the Maggot Man skin, which has a really good feature of giving us infinite sands, regenerating sands every 10 seconds, I think it is. So we've essentially got infinite sands, which lets us perform a few extra glitches later on. But because we did have to take a couple of deaths, really just to reload the story counter, otherwise the game would get really confused and just not let us go on from there. So I'm setting up here for a certain jump, which lets us skip the entire foundry. It's quite a precise jump. It's fairly lax once you're used to it, but setting it up originally is a little bit of a pain. And because of more story counter memes, we need to take... I'm just going to quickly die here just to make sure that it's actually all lined up. I don't think I need to take the death, but for safety's sake, I'm just going to quickly take the death just for, habits, basically. Because normally what we do is we would keep the normal prints up until this point, and we would die here to reload the Sand Wraith. So I'm just setting up for another roll teleport here for one reason. It deloads all the traps in this corridor. It wastes a little bit of time to do it, but it just makes this corridor a lot easier to do, and lets me do it a little much better skip later on. Like I said, it doesn't really save too much time. It probably loses more time than it's actually worth doing, but I just think it's a cool little thing to do. So normally for this point here you'll have to go up and around, but what we can do here is we can just wall run, jump, and then we're across that entire section. Another safety fall, and we're all the way down here. So what I'm going to be setting up for in this place here is something that we call a drop glitch. And the way a drop glitch works is, which is why we've kept the mace that we picked up, well the stick sorry, after we got the second sword. We've kept the stick for this purpose, to throw it away to let us infinitely fall down. So I'm just going to quickly set up here, which is quite precise to be honest with you, so I'm going to spend a little bit of time just setting this up properly. So, nope, I've gone too far. This is a little bit precise. There we go. So we can infinitely hold the weapon while we're falling. Just quickly rewind there to reload the rewind timer. And now we picked up the second stick of the game, the Scorpion Sword. We don't actually use the sword for anything other than breaking walls. But if Paul's got anything to say, I'm going to quickly count to 21 and I'm going to let him take it away here. Polestar, you got anything to say there? So what I'm doing here is something called a quicksand glitch, which is 9, 10, which is using the infinite rewind feature. Because we've reloaded the sand, we're able to rewind that timer to the point where we can infinitely reload the sand. I think that's 15, 16, 17, 18. I've lost count. I think this one here is 21. I might have gone a couple of over, but I'm not sure. So we can just, yeah, that was perfectly fine. We can roll under the door. So what the quicksand does is it lets us rewind infinitely into the ground. So what I'm doing here is I'm setting up for a launch, which is another rewind feature with the pause menu. So we can basically launch ourselves up into the next section of the game. And I bounced off the top. Perfect. Probably should. I'm just going to set it up the old-fashioned way, because this one's a little bit of a pain, doing it off the door. It's fairly easy to get off the door, actually, but it's just it's something new that I'm trying to get used to, but for now I'll just set up the old-fashioned way, which sets us up to the ladder. So that launch takes 2 rewinds to do, but that lets us skip a lot of sections in the game where we would need to climb a certain height or whatever. Because of how useful it is, it lets us skip a major portion of the game, which I'm going to be coming up to here in the library. I am going to take a safety save here before I go into the library, just because of it can actually fail. So I'm just going to take a quick safety save, just for marathon safety. But hopefully it won't fail. Hopefully. So I mentioned quicksand before when counting to 21, going into the ground. We're going to do something similar here, except it only takes 3. We're going to drop down off the ledge, rewind that animation 3 times to see the prints sink into the floor. And what that lets us do is it lets us skip over an enemy, well, technically under an enemy trigger, which is inside this corridor. And if I could smash this door, rather than boinking it. So there should be 2 enemies in this library, but because of that quicksand that we did in the at the start of that corridor, the enemies aren't loaded. So I'm going to set up for another launch here and trick the game into thinking I'm going to do a secondary counter. And what this lets us do is it lets us launch all the way up to here, and that's a weird angle. And because of the collision that's in this game, we're able to go into here. And once I can actually wall run, we can activate the hacker cutscene where we smash it open this wall, and because realistically you're supposed to go underneath this point here, but because we're technically going inside of it, we can just walk around with the hacker and he really does not care about us, because there should be a chase cutscene in here, except we basically don't get it activated because of the way that we came into this corridor here. But like I say, because the hacker should be chasing us at the moment, he suddenly remembers because we've hit this trigger here, and we bridge a Khazad-dûm his ass. There is another launch that you can do in this corridor here, but you can skip a story counter in this corridor, so I'm not going to do the launch. It saves about 3 seconds overall anyway, but I'm not doing that because it has a potential to skip a story counter, and I don't want that to happen. Because if I skip that story counter, then I can't progress further in the game. The game is quite weird when it comes to its story counters, and how it remembers its story. So that was a failed safety fall, as was that. There we go, that should be fine. Really, game? So again, safety falls are meant to let you fall from further heights. It doesn't give you much, but it gives you just enough to safety fall from certain places. So we're into the Mystic Caves. There is a skip in this game where we can skip this entire section. However, it's very, very RNG related, and it can fail, but it is about 2 minutes, well, a minute to 2 minutes faster overall, where we skip this entire area. But because of how unsafe it is, I'm not going to do that, mainly because it shouldn't exist anyway, in my opinion. But that's a discussion for another day. But the worrying thing about this corridor here is we've got 4 dogs that we have to handle, and this button here to activate this door, the timer to close the door has already started, including the cutscene. So we lose about however many seconds that is on the door's timer, which is a bit of a pain when you've got 4 dogs to get around. But what I can do here is I can go straight into side rolls, and if the dogs are friendly enough, which they are being, we can just side roll around all of them and straight into the door just before it closes. I lie, we had plenty of time to get through that door because of how nice the dogs were. So the weapon I've just picked up here is called the Banana Sword. For obvious reasons, it looks like a banana. And this is actually the most damaging weapon in the game. It scales the damage output of your primary weapon by 2.5 times its damage. So it is incredibly powerful, especially with the Scorpion Sword. And we're going to be using this only on the last boss fight, Kailina. And there's another little skip that you can do here, so let's see if I can get it. This skip saves about a second, but I love doing it because it just looks so funny, seeing the prince just walk across mid-air like that. It saves barely any time, if anything, but I love doing it because it just looks so stupid, looks so dumb. So I'm going to be setting up for another launch again here to just skip running around this entire corridor here. So, and I failed that. So that's not the animation that we should be doing. We should be doing a different animation, which I'm trying to trick the game into doing. Because that's a regular animation that should be happening, but what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to trick the game into doing the safety fall animation, which I've done successfully this time. And to set up the launch, activate it. This can skip a load trigger, which it hasn't, which is good, but I'm going to set up more side rolls again because they are the fastest form of movement. And so now we safety fall down to here, which is fairly free, but because of the way collision works in this game, I'm just going to line this up a little bit better. The way collision works in this game is that we can actually jump onto this pendulum that I'm trying to jump over to here, and it's got just enough collision that we can walk across it like this. It's a little bit finicky to do, a little bit tricky to get used to, but there's just enough collision on there to get us all the way on the other side of the mech tower and skip going all the way around the outside of it, which saves a lot of time overall. Again, more side rolls because it's free. It's fast. We're going to touch this door here, activate this button because that sets up the trap cycle so that we can just start side rolling immediately. And that sets up the trap cycle so that we don't hit anything at all. Because of the way Sand Wraith works is that it drains your health over time. And we've only got a quarter of our health left now, so we're trying to save as much health as possible. Yeah. I'm going to jump off here and fall to my death because there is a cutscene trigger down there and I want to hit that before I go through the next section. But from there I can just jump across here, fall down the ladders, and now continue on casually for a little bit past the big sand golem. I can't remember the actual mini-boss's name, but it's a little bit of casual movement up until the next part of the game, so just going to be side-rolling through it. If Paul still wants to take it away with anything he's got.
Well, certainly. I can talk about a few of our donation incentives coming up. For the Fallout New Vegas Radio Choice incentive, currently in the lead, we have Mojave Music with $10. And Radio New Vegas is trailing behind with 0. So, if you want to get your donations in now to snipe that, go ahead.
Sweet. So, that's actually pretty much the end of the casual movement. I'm going to set up side rolls straight away again because there's a trap cycle that I want to make in this corridor. And there's a little bit of a time saver here by running off that wall there. Another safety fall down onto the switch. Excuse me. No, nowhere near. So we're going to roll under this door here. And I'm actually going to start setting up for another roll teleport, which is actually quite tricky. So I'm going to spend a little bit of just quiet time just setting up this trick here. Because what I want to do is I want to skip past this cutscene where the prince will take off his mask. So I'm just going to spend a little bit of time setting this up. Just go through it a little bit slower than I normally would. And try and skip past this cutscene and hopefully keep the mask of time. Nope. That should work. And there we go. That cutscene trigger is all the way through that doorway, and it's a little bit of a pain to get behind as it's a very precise roll teleport. But once it's done, it's pretty much just taking a little bit of a weird track down. Also jumping right for the win. And we don't want to take that checkpoint because it's quite slow to do so. So just slowly rolling through these traps is actually faster, even though I got hit there. But we shouldn't be losing any health for now. We do take a heal before we do the boss fight, so that should be fine. But I'm going to set up for another 2 second time save here for a launch here. I've actually set it up the slower way to do so. And it's failed. Of course it's failed. So I'm just going to take this a casual wheel because the launch failed. The launch itself only saves about 2 seconds, so it's not that much of a time loss. But it's just so cool to do, and it actually shows like just how far the launch will take you. So I'm quite disappointed I couldn't actually get to show that off. Rolling past the ladders like a boss. So, in this section here, there's 2 more cutscenes that we need to skip by. Otherwise, we'll lose a lot of time. So, we're going to set up for another wall run teleport. So, activate the pause glitch, wall run straight away. Activate the Sands of Time, and then that lets us teleport past that cutscene again. And there is another cutscene skip right here, where we should be going to see Kylina for the first time, but we're not going to do that as that wastes a lot of time, so I'm just going to quickly set this up here. It should be round about there. Three. And there we go, we've rolled past the cutscene trigger. Because there is a load trigger as well in there, we have to backtrack a little bit to touch the wall, and that should load this next area here behind this breakable wall. Good. I'm always worried that I never actually hit that load trigger for some reason, but we should be fine from here. So now we're going to go back to the present for the first time since the start of the run. Still in mask form. We should actually be the normal prince here, but it doesn't really matter because what I'm going to do here is just take a health save, and I'm actually going to take a safety save as well, just in case we somehow manage to die to Kylina. But if we reload the save here, we'll be back to normal prince. So hopefully we can finish the game as Sandwraith, because that's actually pretty good. So I'm going to set up for another launch here, which again saves only a couple of seconds overall. And it's failed again. I don't know why the launches are failing at the minute. I think it's got something to do with maybe how quick I'm trying to do it, but I'm not sure why that's failed again. Because that's twice the launches have failed for me there. So again, just going to do it casually, and we're coming up to the final boss fight shortly. Time might not be for like another minute or so, but hopefully, if the skip goes well, because this boss fight is a little bit RNG heavy in terms of how the triple skip works.
Simply shout out when you're ready for time.
No bother. So this is Kylina. There's not really a lot to say on this boss fight other than the fact that we're going to be mashing secondary basically the whole way through it. And hopefully, yep, we got the combo out. And for some reason, I pressed the button to throw my sword away. So quickly rewind that. We're going to get the sand back anyway because we're Sandwraith. But thankfully I've managed to save that a little bit. Don't know why my sword was thrown. I must have mashed a little bit too hard and pressed the throw button. So again, we're going to hit this cutscene, which is scripted. Nothing we can do about it. Keep mashing again before she goes up in any kind of tornadoes or anything like that. Lose this clash and immediately start slow motion so that we can get Kylina down to a specific health barrier, which is about here. Stop slow motion and activate the best placebo of this game, which I think has failed because we're in slow motion somehow. Yeah, it's failed. And I've died. Yeah. Nothing I can do here. I've actually lost the boss fight. I'm going to have to load the safety save, unfortunately, as oh, shit. No, why has it crashed? That's not good. No, I don't care about that. UKSG. Well, I'm glad I took that safety save. And thankfully it's still here. So like I said, the prince will be back to normal prince mode here. Which is unfortunate, to be honest with you. I was really hoping to get away with getting the fight off first time as Sandwraith, but it's unfortunate that she went straight up into tornadoes and I died. But that can happen. Because what the triple skip is, I mentioned before, is skipping all of her tornado cycles. She can go into 3 tornado cycles overall. I've missed the ledge. So I'm trying to skip all 3 of that. And the triple skip is quite an inconsistent method of it, as it is just all placebo. So this fight starts off the exact same thing. The entire I got basically to the end of the fight before, so if we've got anything to take away, Polster, go ahead with it.
Certainly. We do have a $5 donation from Fillmore Crevice. Whoops. Saying, good luck everyone, Radio New Vegas all the way. And that goes straight to Radio New Vegas, and that is still trailing Mojave Music by another $5. So, well, the gap has closed a little bit, but it's still Mojave Music in the lead. So if you want the other radio to come forth, then get your donations in now.
So I'm trying to quickly save this here before, and she's gone straight into the tornadoes. Because Kylina hit me there. So I was trying to quickly save that before she went into tornadoes, but she did it anyway. So there's nothing I can really do about that but start to dodge them. So again, side rolls for the win, because side rolls are superior. So we're just going to side roll around Kylina until she stops doing what she's doing. Grab a refill sand, just for safety. Although we really only need one sand for this fight, and that's to slow down time after the clash. So right, let's see if this one works. Should be coming up soon, hopefully, if it works. Time! Not a bad run overall. Didn't get ledge storage, which I was gutted about. One death to Kylina, but 33, 36. That's not bad for those two fails. The two fails on there, that's actually... It's not sub 30, but no, that's not bad a run. Thank you so much for having me. Yeah.